Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another Magic Arena gameplay video. Today I wanted to share with you an awesome deck that we've been having a lot of fun with on stream recently called Emergency Fund. It's a pretty janky deck, but when it works is great, and it's a deck centered around emergency powers alongside Smothering Tithe, a 4-mana enchantment that says whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If the opponent doesn't, you get to make a treasure token, which is an artifact that you can sacrifice to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. And now the combo with Smothering Tithe is Emergency Powers, a 7-mana instant that says each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library and then draws 7 cards, and then Emergency Powers also gets exiled, so it prevents any loop shenanigans. And then it also has Addendum. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you can put a permanent card with convert mana cost 7 or less from your hand onto the battlefield, so this is a nice little bonus. But the important part about Emergency Powers is the draw 7 part, because if you have a Smothering Tithe in play and then cast Emergency Powers, your opponent will end up drawing 7 cards, which means they'll have to pay 14 mana if they want to deny all the treasure tokens you get from the Tithe, which is not going to happen. Instead, you'll often get around 7 treasure tokens after casting Emergency Powers with a single Smothering Tithe in play, which essentially pays for the Emergency Powers cost, and then you still get the Addendum benefit of getting a permanent in play for free, which can either be a land if you don't have any relevant permanents, or you maybe get a second copy of Smothering Tithe in play, or maybe a treasure map or a compass. So the Addendum is definitely very relevant, as it will make any future Emergency Powers even better. And of course, once you have multiple copies of Smothering Tithe in play, Emergency Powers actually starts generating a ton of mana, and that's the part we're interested in, because as soon as we start making a ton of mana, we can do a lot of powerful things. And in this deck, the win condition is to use Mastermind's Acquisition to get a powerful sideboard card that will act as our finisher. We could of course have some win conditions in the main deck as well, but I like the fact that Acquisition in the main deck can not only first help us find one of the missing combo pieces like Tithe or Emergency Powers, and then also functions as our win condition by getting a powerful sideboard card, and most often we're just going to get a Banefire and burn the opponent out by casting a Banefire for 20 to their face, but every now and then we might want to get something else. We also have the Revel in Riches in the sideboard. Sometimes you don't quite have enough mana for a lethal Banefire, but you do have 10 treasure tokens in play, and then Revel in Riches can win you the game on the following upkeep, so that's also a win condition we can get. Used to be in the main deck, but we decided to move it into the sideboard instead, and you could be pretty creative with all the win conditions you can put in the sideboard. You can also put some conditional cards in here that can maybe help you out if you don't quite have infinite mana, but that you want to use to just disrupt the opponent some more. But I should point out that this is a best of 1 deck and not really a best of 3 deck, so the sideboard is purely for Mastermind's Acquisition and not really meant as a sideboard for going into a best of 3 scenario. So this is a major combo in the deck, and then we also have 4 copies of Treasure Map, which synergizes very nicely with Smothering Tithe as a 2-mana artifact that can provide a bit of card selection and eventually transforms into Treasure Cove. And we also get 3 treasure tokens, and Treasure Cove alongside treasure tokens is great since we can sacrifice a treasure, tap Treasure Cove and then draw a card, so functions as a great card draw engine. So alongside Smothering Tithe we can keep drawing extra cards, or the opponent will have to keep paying extra mana to prevent us from getting those treasures in the first place. And then the rest of the deck is essentially a control deck where we have lots of removal spells, sweeper effects to keep us afloat, so we have enough time to deploy all our combo pieces. So let's go over the entire deck list here. We've got 4 copies of Revitalize, 2-mana instant, gain 3 life, draw a card, 2 copies of Cast Down to destroy target non-legendary creature at instant speed. We've got a Moment of Craving, giving a creature -2/-2 and gaining us 2 life at instant speed. Then we also have a copy of Thematic Compass, which is great alongside sweeper effects, since eventually transforms into Spires of Araska, which is a land that can untap target attacking creature and prevent it from dealing any combat damage that turn, so it essentially fogs an opposing creature and forces the opponent to overextend into a potential sweeper effect. And of course we've got the full 4 copies of Kaya's Wrath to punish the opponent for overextending and to keep the board clear, alongside 2 copies of Crown of Carnarium, giving all creatures -2/-2 and exiling them if they would die, as another smaller sweeper effect. 3 copies of Mortify as a spot removal spell that can also destroy enchantments. 2 Chemist's Insights to draw some more cards. Then the 3 Mastermind's Acquisition, which is our major win condition in this deck. And then pretty straightforward mana base, no islands since we have Kaya's Wrath in our deck, and otherwise drawing an island can be pretty awkward. So we've got 3 plains, 3 swamps, and then a ton of dual lands for Glacial Fortress, for Godless Shrine, for Isolated Chapel, for Drowned Catacomb, and then for Watery Graves. So we don't have a ton of blue mana in the deck, but we also don't have a ton of blue spells, just the 2 Insights and the 4 Emergency Powers, and then we still have the treasure tokens from Tithe and Treasure Map to help us fix our mana as well, so the mana base is pretty smooth. And then in the sideboard, of course, Banefire is the most important one, and then Revel in Riches can also be used sometimes, and then you can get pretty creative with the other win conditions you want to put in here, or maybe you want to put some cheaper cards in there that you can search up with Acquisition if you're not quite winning the game yet. Mass Manipulation can also be fun, Hydroid Crisis is probably not necessary, Expansion Explosions like a Banefire that draws us a bunch of cards at the same time, so that's pretty sweet. We've got Sakama for style points, Star of Extinction if we need to wipe the board somehow, Immortal Sun doesn't seem necessary, Thousand Year Storm if we want to crash the game by making too many treasure tokens, Impulse's Clutches also doesn't seem necessary, but can steal maybe a Planeswalker before it ultimates. Then Revel in Riches is a card we might sometimes get besides Banefire. Karn could also be an alternate win condition since we are making a ton of treasure tokens, so the construct tokens from Karn can get pretty big, so we could even fit Karn into the main deck if we wanted to, but the problem is we already have all these 4-drops in the deck, and there's not a ton of room for extra 4-drops like Karn. We've got a Contempt if we need to exile some creatures or Planeswalkers, but could also maybe be added into the main deck if we had more room. Ixalan's Binding can also be useful against some decks, same with Unmoored Ego, but as I've said, most of the time we're probably just going to get a Banefire to win the game, so your sideboard could just be 1 or 2 copies of Banefire and you would be good to go as well. And I don't think we want to add it to the main deck since it doesn't really help our control plan in the early game, and you only really want access to it when you're about to win the game anyway. So yeah, that's the deck. Now I'll show you some highlights from the stream. You might see some cards that weren't mentioned in the main deck because the deck has been going through some iterations. For example, at some point we had Revel in Riches in the main deck, and then it made sense to have Golden Demise instead of Cry of the Carnarium as our 3-mana sweeper, but that's changed when we moved our Revel in Riches to the sideboard. So that's just one of the many changes that the deck has gone through. But other than that, I hope you enjoy. Hand looks decent. So we've got a turn 2 treasure map. Black green, Branchwalkers, so could be the Sultai midrange deck. And Vivian out of that deck could be annoying since that can blow up or artifacts and enchantments. Do we map or do we moment? I think we'll map. And then we can look for land on our upkeep with the Scry. Midnight Reaper. Alright. Land is good. So probably just killing the Reaper here is my guess. Brontodon's annoying too. Kill it now in case they go land stack Brontodon. Otherwise I get to draw an extra card. They're gonna kill it right away. Fair enough. So we could Mastermind's Acquisition for something, like a Smothering Tithe, since Tithe is the card we probably want to draw the most. Alright, and hope they don't have Find Finality to pick up the Brontodon again. Compass is going to be better for us if we have 5 mana, so we can play it and activate it right away. Alright, so they're on a slightly more graveyard-based deck. Ooh, Journey. Alright, this could be bad if they can sacrifice a supplier somehow, because then they've got an infinite supply of Brontodons. And I don't think we're beating that. I guess we've got Mortify to blow up the enchantment now. Alright, so I think the play is going to be Compass, pass a turn with Mortify up, and if they don't do anything we can just activate Compass or Revitalize. If they sack Supplier, we can in response Mortify the Journey. Doom Whisper. Alright. Get a land. Probably have to kill the Doom Whisper. Don't really want to take 6 from it. Or we could play Tithe Revitalize, just take the hits, hope they can't flip Supplier, but with all the Surveil from Doom Whisper, they probably will be able to. It's unclear whether the Doom Whisper or the Journey is more threatening at this point. It's kind of the combination of both, because Doom Whisper can find a way for them to sack the Supplier. Could just play the Tithe, Revitalize, and then extra emergency powers, hope for the best. Let's try it. If they give us a treasure, then we can still mortify if we want to. So they're gonna go digging. Yeah, the Brontodon is kind of the biggest problem. Because I think we can handle the creatures otherwise. But once they start dealing with our enchantments over and over again, it's gonna be rough. Alright. Opponent keeps digging. Yeah, Kaya would be pretty good against Stitcher Supplier. Not sure what they're digging for. Alright. I guess they're just trying to put everything in the graveyard. Maybe they've got an Izoni in hand that they want to cast. They do pay, so we can mortify here. So if they have an easy way of flipping Journey, we're in trouble. So we can Revitalize end of turn here. And then emergency powers, hope for the best. Sure. Yeah, I mean, they're at 7, so Banefire doesn't need to be for a lot to kill them. And Emergency Power is going to undo all the work they did with Doom Whisper here. By shuffling their graveyard back. So hopefully we just draw into a Kaya's Wrath. Alright. Put this in play. And we should be able to emergency powers once again here. That happens. So I guess we'll put this in. Maybe we just want the lands. Since we can Mastermind's Acquisition, we'll get 14 treasures, so we can just get a Banefire and kill them. So don't even have to put the Revel and Riches in play here. We could emergency powers again, which would be the sweeter play. But let's just put them out of their misery. Grab a sideboard card. That was pretty sweet. Banefire. And Banefire for 10. To the face. That was pretty cool. No white mana, but Treasure Map and Compass I think we keep. Can always Compass for planes. What do I think about banning Nexus only in best of 1? I mean, for now it makes sense to only ban it in best of 1 since there's a Pro Tour coming up next week. But they might ban it in best of 3 after that. We'll see. Think we'll compass so we can activate it next turn, get a plains, play Tithe on 4. Up against Gates, which should be winnable. They're not necessarily the fastest deck alive. As long as we can dodge an early ram. Alright. We'll get this going. And then hope to draw into our emergency powers soon enough. Next turn we could Tithe again. We could treasure map. Got some options. Tithe against Skill Summit is pretty good. All the mana. Alright, they do have the ram. So we will have to find a removal spell at some point here. Alright, so playing the second Tithe is probably unnecessary. I think we'll play the treasure map and start scrying. Alright, Mortify is good. If they give us an extra treasure, we can cast a Mortify if we take 2 here, since then we can revitalize into Mortify, or we can just take 7 and Mortify it next turn, play the Stabbed, save ourselves a treasure. I guess it's maybe better. And maybe they respect Kaya's Wrath as well and don't overextend, which buys us more time. Growth Spiral. I guess we might still be able to revitalize into Mortify if we want to. We'll see here. Alright, all the treasures. And they can no longer cast a ram here. So we're safe to Mortify. Alright, opponent going off. And then we just gotta find emergency powers ASAP. Oh, they do have 7 gates in play. Never mind, I thought this was another plaza. Well, this could be bad. I guess only the 1 for now. Alright, so Mastermind's Acquisition was not a bad draw. So now the question is, do we just Tithe right now? We can Tithe and then Acquisition for emergency powers, and then we can emergency powers next turn for a lot. Could also Acquisition for an Ixalan's Binding in the sideboard and binding the Colossus. But I'm pretty sure we can win if we just Tithe and then powers next turn. So we'll do that. And I don't think the 2 life matters too much. Probably should have cast the Acquisition first, so maybe our opponent thinks we got the second Tithe, but oh well. Alright. So they usually don't have any counter spells, so this powers should resolve. Ooh, Rhythm. Rhythm could be bad. If they follow this up with a bunch of hasty Colossi. But looks like they're mostly tapped out. Islands. Alright, no Colossus incoming, that's good. And then do we flip the map? Might as well. Cast down. Doesn't really matter. I guess we can keep it so we can kill the Colossus before we emergency powers. Alright, so Is there a difference between 11 life and 13 life? How many gates do they have? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say they have 8 gates, 10. I don't think it matters too much. So we'll pay 2. Cast down Colossus. And then emergency powers will also shuffle it back. And do we want to flip treasure map before we do this? Don't think so. Hey, good evening. Access the Night. Welcome, welcome. Alright. More emergency powers, that's good. And we'll put treasure map in play, I suppose. So we can powers again. And keep going. They will pay 2. Could also consider putting a land in play, but I guess we already have 7 lands in play, so this compass will transform end of turn, so we can fog more potential hasty creatures from our opponents. Alright, kind of bricked off on this one. Did not find acquisition or another emergency powers, but we can scry a bunch with treasure map and then revitalize to maybe draw into some action. So we'll flip this. Insight seems decent now that we have all this mana. So we'll draw into it and try to keep going off. Maybe should have scryed before drawing there. I guess we'll do that now. Don't need Chaos Wrath. We'll jumpstart. Discarding lands. Alright, acquisition. We can acquisition for another emergency powers. Sure. Could also acquisition for a win condition in the sideboard, like our 5 mana one that cares about having 10 treasures in play, but there's a chance that we can win right now if we emergency powers, whereas that relies on having to untap. Alright, our last emergency powers, so that's looking good. Hopefully we don't time out. Although maybe now we have enough mana to win. I think we're still a bit short. Now we can Mastermind's acquisition, and that should be for enough. 40 more mana. What's going on? Resolve all. So yeah, we should have enough to get a Banefire and win right now. 25, so 26 mana total. It's actually close. 26 minus 4, 22, so Banefire actually doesn't do it. I guess we'll just get a Revel in Riches instead, since we have 2 removal spells in hand to kill potential haste creatures. Should be okay now. Could also get Zakama. Don't think that does enough. I don't know, I'm just gonna get to Revel in Riches here. There's a chance we could do something different and win on the spot. Maybe get a 1000-Year Storm. But we're running out of time, and this wins us a game next turn, so it seems good enough. And with 2 removal spells, hopefully we can survive their next turn. We also have this that's transforming, so we basically have 3 creatures covered. Alright. Well, that was quite a turn. I guess... hold on. I'm silly. We should just mortify the rhythm. That way they can't play any hasty creatures. Although then, do we still have the 10 treasures? Yeah, we still do have enough treasures. This seems safer. Unless they have a second rhythm, we should be good. And they usually don't have any answers to enchantments. Yeah, if they have a second rhythm, then keeping the removal spell for the creature is slightly better than killing the rhythm. But it also ties up 3 mana from the opponents. Sure. So I guess they're looking for a second rhythm. We can beat triple Colossus, we can beat quadruple Colossus plus rhythm. And of course Ram could also factor into the equation, but they're pretty low mana. So it's gotta be rhythm into a bunch of free Colossi. Alright, so rhythm finally dies. Do they have a second copy? 34 treasures, not bad. Well, we were 1 or 2 mana off killing the opponent with a Banefire last turn. Revel in Riches proved to be a reasonable answer. Double Colossus. Shimmer. Alright. So this should be game, since now they can no longer cast Rhythm, no Hasty Colossi incoming. And we shouldn't untap and win the game. Alright, so this one took a while. But we got there. Sweet. Alright, what about this hand? Kind of light on mana, but it does have all the combo pieces. And we're on the draw, so I'm inclined to keep. Probably a bit greedy. But we do play a decent amount of lands in this deck, so we should be able to get up to 4. Uh-oh. The mono blue deck's probably not a good matchup for us. Pressure plus counter spells is a bad recipe for our deck. Yep. It's gonna be rough. Do have a Mortify to maybe kill the Herald before it gets out of hand, but they're gonna get so many looks at a counterspell or a dive down. Third emergency power is not exactly what we were hoping to draw. If they counter the Mortify somehow, we can pretty much wrap it up. Can hope to draw Kaya's Wrath, I suppose. And we should probably main phase the Mortify in case of Wizard's Retort. But realistically they have a Spell Piercer dive down here. Yeah. Alright, I think we'll give it one more draw step in case we can top deck a Kaya's Wrath, but... I think acquisition for Kaya's Wrath is going to be too slow. Alright, well, let's find out if they have a Spell Pierce or a Retort. If they do. I guess we gotta top deck another one. Can this become a 5/5 yet? Not quite. Alright. Spell Pierce, Dive Down, or Retort would all be good. We did draw the sweepers, just maybe a bit too late. Blink your own MacLeod. Alright, deal. So we're somehow still in it. Opponent may be considering whether or not it's worth it to deploy an extra creature. We could acquisition for a sweeper effect here. We could play Tithe, opponent probably pays for it. So, don't have any great options. Maybe they'll counter this. And of course the hope is that they give us a bunch of treasures so we can ramp into emergency powers. It's probably not happening. Alright, Merfolk Trickster. So... definitely regretting not playing the acquisition for a sweeper effect, since now it's going to be probably too late. So we pretty much need to top deck another sweeper effect here. Find a land. I guess we can acquisition for a Moment of Craving, but they can counter it. So that doesn't work. Don't think we have any sideboard cards that save us. They might counter this anyway. So yeah, Moment of Craving keeps us alive if our opponent forgets to activate the Storm Tamer. Revitalize, does that do it? I guess Revitalize keeps us alive. Sure. The problem is that in order to cast it, we have to sack the treasure, and without the treasure we might not be able to play the emergency powers. And they probably have a counterspell anyway, so it doesn't matter. Does this deck have a win condition? It does. They're in the sideboard, and we can search them up with acquisition. Should have maybe upkeep this in case they drew into a counterspell for the turn. Alright, resolves. So we're still alive. But we probably have to top deck a Kaya's Wrath. So we managed to make it surprisingly far in this game, despite the opponent having a nice start. Gives us 2 treasures, plays a land. Obsession, second main. They could still have a Wizard's Retort in hand, but they didn't counter Revitalize, and they could have had lethal if they did. So who knows? 3, 6, 7, 8. Spell Pierce also kills us. Well, there's only one way to find out. Would be nice if they let this resolve, just for the fun of it. Alright. Well, they could have drawn into a Wizard's Retort in the meantime. We could potentially beat a Spell Pierce now if we put the land in play. So I think we'll do that instead of putting Tithe in play, which would be better alongside powers. But now we could potentially beat a Spell Pierce. I never imagined getting to this point in the game. They're gonna pay for the last one, so we definitely get to resolve this powers. Sadly, don't get to do anything else, so ideally we would have put a second Tithe in play to make even more mana with these other powers. We need to draw into a Chaos Wrath here pretty much after this resolves. More powers, alright. Keep making a little bit of progress here, putting a land in play every time. And this time they're tapped out. Could have used a cast down there as well, but I'm kind of hoping to have this happen. So we'll put Tithe in play, get a bunch of treasures, Kaya's Wrath. And we're off to the races. And we play a treasure map. I guess we do. Alright, not bad. Managed to stabilize against the mono blue deck somewhat. Of course, I do have a fresh hand, so we're gonna be in trouble. Didn't get to go off completely and win the game on the spot. Maybe had we played the other Tithe, we would have had a bit more mana. We could have kept going off by casting the Insight there. Tempest Djinn. That's not gonna work. Sure. Opponent didn't attack with creatures, so the obsession will fall off. We'll scry with the map, I think. And now we know for sure that Kaya's Wrath is going to resolve. We did cast 3 emergency powers already, so probably can't rely on drawing another one anytime soon. Compass seems decent. Can fog a creature every turn. But for now we'll Kaya's Wrath. We'll pay for Spell Pierce, it's just an opt. Alright, so opponent's digging for more creatures. We've got the next creature covered with Compass. Plenty of treasures to draw with the treasure map. So don't hit our spot. Well, I was close to conceding on turn 2, but we managed to get this far. Terramander, but the graveyard got shuffled a few times, so not many instants and sorceries. They could have a dive down to beat the Spires, so that's the scary part. Double treasure map, on tap, flip treasure map. Would like to draw some instant speed removal here. Or Cry of the Carnarium. I guess they can make this big in response since they have enough mana. Alright, we'll start with treasure map. See what we can find. Don't need more treasure maps. Guess we'll treasure map again. Scry, and then we can jumpstart Insight to draw. Alright, Acquisition is good, so we can keep that. So now what? If they have dive down, we would lose unless we acquisition for an answer. Sadly, Cry doesn't do much. Definitely jump starting. So we could Masterminds acquisition for like a cast down, which would play the best around dive down. But I think we just hope they don't have dive down specifically. And then next turn we can Masterminds acquisition. It's a bit risky here, but... Alright, they did not adapt end of turn. Pretty sure they had the mana too, so maybe they wanted to keep up some interaction. Main phase opt. I guess, yeah, we can only use this on an attacking creature, right? Yeah, so they get to dig for a dive down potentially. We have Spires which can fog the Terramander, so if they don't have dive down, we're safe. Alright. So do they have dive down? Let's find out. They don't, awesome. Chart a course. Get some more treasures. So do we just win here? Can we acquisition for a Banefire? Treasure maps are both at 1, so we don't get to flip them. How much mana are we working with? 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I think Banefire does it. Acquisition for a sideboard card. Get a Banefire. And Banefire for 20. Well, did not imagine we were winning this game, but here we are. Damn. Sweet. Hand looks decent. Turn 2 map. Into some removal spells. Alright, up against Sultai. This should be a winnable matchup as long as we can dodge Vivian. With the Karn. Alright. So we'll be scrying towards Akaya's Wrath here. Revitalize isn't terrible. Probably still have to bottom that just to try and find Akaya's Wrath sooner rather than later. Not sure if we're gonna cast down anything here. Alright, there's Akaya's Wrath, perfect. So we could cast down the Elf to prevent a Vivian from happening next turn. But a Karn's happening no matter what, if they have a land. So I think we'll just play this tapped and say go. Do I think the deck needs counterspells? I don't think it has room for counterspells really, because you already need all those other combo pieces and interaction. So maybe they didn't have a 4th land and killing the elf would have prevented Karn, but I think we'll be okay. Just wipe the board. And now we're just digging for a Smothering Tithe. They can have a Druid. Alright, let's scry. Draw land anyway, so we can insight here. They might get trophy to kill the map, which is fine. Gets a land instead. Alright, what is this? Hostage taker, ouch. Well, definitely want to kill that before it steals the map. And I think we'll use the 3 mana removal since there's no enchantments we need to kill out of their deck. Alright, so the map never leaves our side. I don't think Antiquities War would be good here, no. Takes too long for the 3rd chapter to happen and the first 2 chapters don't do anything. Fine, returning Hostage Taker and Branchwalker. Hold draw. Another Wrath is nice. Still looking for a Smothering Tithe. Probably just gonna Insight end of turn here. Guess Trophy. Trophy could also kill our Treasure Cove here, which is fine. Do we want to Insight before we let that happen? I think we do, since there's 3 cards we don't want to draw with Insight here. Alright, Acquisitions and a Tithe. So 2 great cards here. Take action, get a land. Do we jumpstart the Insight here? I don't think we do. Maybe should have gotten a Swamp so we could cast down here. Another Find Finality. Alright, so we're slowly assembling all the combo pieces here. Next turn we could Tithe plus Gaea's Wrath. Turn after Emergency Powers. Wrath into Tithe seems good here. And if they want to steal a treasure token, that's fine by me. Can sack it in response. So Emergency Powers is happening next turn. Hopefully we can dodge Vivian. Alright, Crisis, that's fine. I guess we can also Acquisition for another Tithe before we Emergency Powers here. It's not a bad idea. Alright, so how much mana are we working with? 7 plus 6, 7, 8, 9. So 16 total. So we do have enough mana to Acquisition for another Tithe and then Powers. I think that's worth it. Alright, let's get another Tithe here. And then Emergency Powers, sacking a bunch of treasures. Alright, not the best set of draws. Get a redraw with our Vitalize. So if we ever find another Mastermind's Acquisition, we can search up Banefire pretty much for lethal. Alright, so we kind of bricked off. But that's okay. Still get to transform our Compass, which checks the Crisis. I guess Find Finality doesn't do much anymore now that the graveyard's empty. Wild Growth. Alright. Jade Lights, fair enough. could have mortified the walker in response so they didn't gain all this life. Since now burning them out with Banefire is less realistic. Alright, opponent doesn't bother attacking, it's good. Kaya's Wrath was a nice pickup. Alright, just need to find another emergency power, so we've only cast one, so still have 3 in the deck. Did I try Rampage of the Clans? I have not. Could be a fun sideboard card, but usually have other ways to win, like Revel in Riches or Banefire to the face. Alright, so ooh, Vivian's bad. Yeah, Vivian's gonna ruin our day. So gotta find emergency powers ASAP here. I guess now we mortify the wild growth. Vivian's still gonna stay on top. Revitalize for the redraw. Regretting using that mortify now. I guess we don't have to Kaya's Wrath quite yet. We can just use the Spires. Alright, so Vivian can deal with one of our tithes. But we've got plenty of treasures already. So it's actually not that annoying. Alright, 37 cards. Treasure Map would be a decent draw too, although they can destroy that too with Vivian.
Let's see if you're worthy. That can't help you now.
Acquisition would win us the game on the spot, I'm pretty sure. Alright, get to sweat it out. Is this enough to Kaya's Wrath? Probably. Alright. The waiting game continues.
Balance comes.
Yeah, the treasure cove that they destroyed with the Assassin's Trophy would have been pretty useful now with all those treasures. Another fine finality, opponent keeps on looping those Hydroid creases. Hostage taker, our treasure token. Sure. Ooh, the Ranger, I see. To protect against the sweeper effect, that's fine. They could have gotten rid of one of our treasures if they really wanted to. They just want to replay the Ranger for some reason. I guess that's fine. Alright. The sequencing seems a little weird there. Alright. Another tithe, not quite what we need. So yeah, we still have 3 acquisitions and 3 emergency powers, so 6 draws that almost win us the game on the spot, 3 that definitely win us the game on the spot. And then treasure maps would be helping us at finding one of those cards.
The wilds are my shield.
And we can still buy ourselves a bit of time here, but only so much. Karn gets another Find Finality. Think we'll hold on to this Mortify still. Carnage Tyrants, that one we cannot. Fog. Alright, didn't see that one before. So we're running out of time here. Maybe have one more draw step after this. Alright, let's untap. Alright, that'll buy us some more time. Wild Growth Walker's fine. We could include Vraska's Contempt in the main deck to deal with Planeswalkers, but outside of Vivian, we don't really care about Planeswalkers. Opponent's slowly running out of cards over there. Yeah, I guess the Fairy would be annoying too. But we're probably not beating a control deck anyway. Like, if our combo goes off, we're going off before Planeswalker manages to ultimates.
Come to me.
Maybe should have mortified the Wild Growth before all the life gain happens, in case we want to go for a lethal Banefire. Maybe should do it now. Yeah, sure. Probably should have done this before they gained 9 life. Alright. Since now a Banefire might not be enough. $26, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I guess we would still have enough, but not by much.
You can't stop nature.
Opponent's down to 18 cards in library. So I'm pretty sure that they can present lethal next turn. Even through the Spires. So this is our last chance to top deck. Can we get our Mastermind's Acquisition for the win? Or Emergency Powers for the redraw? Alright, that should do it. Get a sideboard card. Banefire. Banefire for 42. Let's use the +5. Alright, time to sack all those treasures. Oof. Not bad, not bad. Alright. My fingers got a good workout there. I mean, the deck is kind of a meme, but it can also win some games. So it's like the perfect FNM deck. Alright, so I think that's gonna do it for today's stream. We'll be back as usual, stream Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays. So if you wanna catch our next stream, make sure to follow the channel so you get notified when we go live next. Otherwise, you can always check out the YouTube channel where we post a lot of arena content if you wanna see more content while we're offline. But for now, I wanna thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, Have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for being part of the channel, and you can become a patron yourself today and decide the topic of future videos over at patreon.com/LegenVD.